Welcome! In front of me I have the brand new OnePlus 10 Pro, and today I'll go over unboxing along with a quick overview of this phone. So anyway, let's get started and pop it straight open. You can see the box looks fairly interesting. We have co-developed with Hasselblad. I will say press X to doubt. There we go, let's just pop that open. Now last time I did look at the, what was it, 9? Whichever one was the first one with Hasselblad cameras. I wasn't very impressed, to be honest. It was just a mediocre phone all around, so let's see if anything changed here. And I already know that Jerry Rig did an amazing bend test of this phone, which, well, it didn't survive. There is our little phone. We got a decent charger right here. It is an 80 watts. Actually, that's a really good charger. And then we get our typical OnePlus cable. As you can see, that's basically all we get in the box. So let's just pop that out. There we go. Interesting back design. Now, camera isn't really picking this up. Like, I can't really show this on the camera. It kind of looks more like it's a grayish thing, but it has like weird texture to it, which it looks like it has a bit more bumpy texture, but it's actually not. It is a little bit like a matte finish, but still nice. Now, one thing that I'll mention, the cameras on photos, they look absolutely atrocious. They really reminded me of one of the Realme phones that had a very similar camera kind of like look design, but this one actually looks much better in person than it does on like the promo photos and stuff like that. So that's actually a nice pleasant surprise, because on the photos it looks horrendous. Anyway, let me just pop this on while we're doing so, just to see how that looks like. And it kind of makes it look a little bit worse. I think I prefer it without the case. Anyway, let's turn it on. There we go. So, quickly going into this, right at the front we have our display. It's a 6.7-inch display, 1440p by 3216, and that puts this display density at 525 pixels per inch, so fairly dense, with a 90% screen-to-body ratio. And that is a fluid AMOLED display. Fluid probably meaning that it's 120 Hertz. It also has 10-bit color, meaning it boasts 1 billion colors. So the display here is really good. There we go. What else is there to say? We have Gorilla Glass Victus at the front and Gorilla Glass 5 at the back, plus aluminum frame apparently. Though, from I guess what I heard, it's not the best, considering it can fold. Unless that's a feature. Let's see, skip, oh, oops, skip anyway. And there we go. So, there we go, we can see our display. Now, apparently, the peak brightness right here is about 1300 nits, and it does get pretty bright. It's not necessarily like the brightest thing I have seen. And the typical brightness is about 1000 nits. I assume the typical and peak refers to like if you're outside and the light sensors pick up like super bright sunlight, then it will probably boost up the brightness. But for instance, like where I am, it's not utilizing the actual like max brightness that this phone can output, though I'm just kind of assuming here. So in terms of cameras right here, we have triple camera setup. There we go, as you can see, and plus the flash. And these cameras are 48 megapixel wide, 8 megapixel telephoto, and 50 megapixel ultra wide. Now it's kind of weird that we have a ultra wide that is at a higher resolution than the wide one. So anyway, I'll just quickly launch the camera just so we can just get a look how this actually performs. Now I'll take the case off just so you can see the phone better maybe, and also wipe the camera because I already smudged it up. There we go. Okay, so let's launch my camera right here. Agree and continue, allow while using up. There we go, good enough. Let's get my little plenty right here. Okay, just a couple photos here so we can see how it looks, see what else we got in the camera mode right here. So we have Pro, Hasselblad Pro mode, we have panorama, movie, slow motion, time lapse, long exposure for like night shots, dual view videos. That is actually usually a interesting one where it uses two different lenses to record at the same time and just splits the video side by side. So for instance, you can zoom really closely on one and the other one will still show you a normal view from, well, not zoomed image. Then we have 150 angle, I'm not exactly sure what that is. Tilt shift, I also don't have idea what that is, and expand. Let's actually see, tilt shift. Oh, well, that's kind of underwhelming. Okay, so that's one. I'm gonna quickly go into the couple photo modes that we have here just so we can see what it is. And that is just nothing really special, I guess. Oh, that's interesting. Okay. And what was the last one? Oh, it's just a fisheye lens. Okay, great. Big whoop. So let's quickly go into these photos just so you can see. So here's the fisheye lens. Obviously, the further you're trying to capture something, the more like stretched it will look like. So right here, this is just a normal shot. And as you can see, it almost captures the entire desk, though you can see that the desk is like literally bowing right here because of the fisheye lens. Then, let's quickly go back. Actually, no, we didn't want to go back. There we go. Drop the phone, yeah. So this was the... Can you flip? Can you flip? There we go. So this was just the photo. Now it did do like a weird shift. Do I do anything with this? I have no idea why. Okay. Anyway, that's the other mode with like the blur edges. Honestly, seems a little bit pointless. And then we got the zoom shot from a wide sensor. So the zoom actually did a fairly decent job at capturing a decent amount of details, though it is artificially sharpened to the point that it looks a little bit weird. And here was the normal shot. This one actually came out really good. So there we go. This is the camera setups. To be completely honest, for a flagship device, at what this is selling for, I have to say I'm not very impressed with the cameras. As a casual user, I should add that. I ain't like a professional grade photographer or something like that. So as a casual user, these cameras are not necessarily like blowing me away, considering they are really pushing that Hasselblad marking right here. It means nothing to me basically. Nothing, because those photos are just looking bland. I can't really say that I'm impressed with them or anything. For instance, I did do like yesterday the unboxing of Xiaomi 12 Pro, and this one had similar camera setup, a little bit better than this, and yeah, those photos were coming out really good. For a typical user, if I can just take out my phone, snap a couple photos and be satisfied with them, that's all I want. And this phone is on a crappier side compared to the other one. So anyway, let's move away from the cameras. Actually, before I do that, I'm just gonna touch upon the front one right here. So this is a 32 megapixel wide sensor. Now, I will at the end compare this phone to, like I said, the Xiaomi 12 Pro, just because I think like they are super close in comparison, because they share a lot of the features and a lot of the specs. So I feel like this would be a good device to compare it to. They have similar price and a lot of similar specs in almost every single aspect. So I will say, camera-wise, compared to the other one, Xiaomi has better cameras, because number one has all three 50 megapixel cameras, wide, telephoto, and ultra-wide. Well, this one has like 8 megapixel telephoto and 48 megapixel wide one. So there we go, that's one. Front ones are the same. I do kind of want to point that out because, like I said, I'm gonna go over what I would consider to be more worth it. So, now the cameras. Now let's move over to the actual internals. And we're looking at a Snapdragon 8 Gen 1, so basically the best processor right now that I can get. And we have also a couple of versions of storage and RAM that we can pick from. And the one that I have right here is, let's see. This is a 8 GB with 128 storage. So this is the base model, the lowest tier of this Pro version that you can get. You can crank up the storage from 128 to 256, keeping still 8 GB RAM. Then we can crank up from 8 gigs to 12 gigs of RAM with keeping the 256. And we can also crank up the storage even further by or up to 512 gigs of storage. So with every kind of like, it flip-flops and alters between what gets bumped up every time you pay more money. So you get storage upgrade, and then RAM upgrade, and then again storage upgrade. And let's quickly see. I highly doubt that we do have a expandable storage, but I will check it out nonetheless. And yep, we don't have expandable storage. So if you need more than like 120 or 250, you probably know what you need to go for. Additionally, for a lot of people, if you don't mind, you can, for instance, plug in something like this. There we go, needed to grab it. So you can see this is a USB-C. It takes this SD card right here, and I can simply plug that in. And I could offload data from the phone. So if, for instance, I record at 8K videos, obviously that will take up storage quite quickly. So I could just, fill up the storage, then move everything from the phone to the SD card, and then continue recording again. That is a option that you can do, and because of that, you can, for instance, go for the cheaper version of this device. You don't have to spec out for like 512 gigs if you need to, or if you don't need to, and still have a modicum of like storage there that you can use or transfer over to. So anyway, that's the storages, and I'll also mention one last thing. In terms of storage, the device boasts a UFS 3.1 storage, meaning that the phone should deal with anything like the recordings at 8K really quickly because of that storage. It should be reading and writing that really fast. And what else is there? We have the battery, which we do have a 5000 milliamp hour battery in here, and as you've seen, we do have this hefty 80 watt charger in the box. And apparently the advertised charging speeds as from 1% to 100 in about 32 minutes. Now this is the international. There is also North America, which apparently gets 65 watt charger, so that will charge the device up to 58% in 15 minutes. 15, because I think I said it a little bit weirdly. So yeah, crappier charger obviously equals slower charging speeds. And I don't think you get to pay less for that, so that's a little bit of a bummer, most likely. And one last thing, we do have a wireless charging right here at hefty 50 watts. So that's actually fairly impressive here. Actually, no, not fairly, that's really impressive wireless charging. And yeah, that's basically all the specs of the device. So lastly, I'll go over the price, which this device, on the site it says it's about 900 euros, but I think it's a little bit more actually, because for me in Poland, where I am based in, this device costs over 5,000 PLN. If you're wondering how much that is, it's a lot for me. So 5,000 is about, if I would convert it right now to, for instance, US dollars, it comes a little bit above $1,000. I can actually really quickly check it. So USD to PLN, just so I can give you the accurate exchange rate right now. So let's do 5,000. That is $1,100 or $1,170. So this phone is like way out there in terms of price. Considering, and this didn't even survive a bench test from Jerry Rig, it's a little bit concerning about the build quality of this phone. It might look on paper really nice and all that, as you probably can see. It looks nice, it works fine, but if, for instance, I'm gonna put that phone in my pocket and then it comes out in folded state next time, that's over $1,000 that has been wasted just because they decided to cheap out on things that you might not know about. So there we go. And additionally, let's be honest, OnePlus previously was supposed to be the flagship killer, so flagship performance at a discounted price. 1,000 and over 100 USD is not a discounted price. It is right up there with the effing top of the price chain, with all the Samsungs that have their overpriced devices there. So this is no longer what OnePlus stands for. Probably explains why we don't see anywhere anymore the don't settle crap that they used to advertise. You don't have don't settle wallpapers, you don't got don't settle anything, little paperwork or anything that they used to do, because they did settle. So there we go. So, like I mentioned before, I'm going to compare this phone now to another device that I would consider to be much more worth it. Or maybe not much more, but I think like it's a little bit more worth it just because of the cameras particularly. And you also get a 120 watts charger instead of the 80. Now that is nitpicking, but when we have phones that are very similarly priced, with though the Xiaomi 12 Pro coming at $1,000, not 1,170, and having better specs than this, you get to kind of like start questioning why the F is this costing more when it's actually worse, considering this is supposed to be a flagship killer at a discounted price. So, quick comparison between those two. I would show you this phone just as a comparison right here, but they're virtually gonna look the same, with only difference is the camera on Xiaomi is in the middle instead of on the side. That's basically all the differences, and obviously the back cameras are a little bit differently designed. They don't have this kind of look, they just have a little bit of a different one. But still, 3 camera setup. All the cameras are 50 megapixel, unlike here. We have also 50 watt wireless charging. We have 120 watts fast charging on the Xiaomi. Obviously, I'm right now just gonna spit all the specs of the Xiaomi because we already know what we have here. So 4,500 mAh battery. It is smaller than this, so this one has a bigger battery. We have an under finger display sensor, which works really fast. We also have virtually the same display with 1440p, 120 and all that stuff, curved and whatever. And storage wise, if you need more than 256 storage, then Xiaomi cannot provide that. Xiaomi caps out at 256 12 gigs of RAM, while this one caps out half a terabyte, 512 exactly. So there we go, and both of them do not have expandable storage. And lastly, probably the systems. This one, the OnePlus, is rocking a Android 12, while the Xiaomi will be rocking an Android 11. I didn't look if they're planning to have Android 12. Hopefully they do. But this one right now has a newer Android. And that's about it. That's basically the only differences, and you get to pay for those differences, which in certain cases are worse, $100 more. You get to pay $100 more for a crappier charger. You get to pay $100 more for crappier cameras. You get to pay $100 more for increased battery capacity. And that's basically all the differences here. So at the end of the day, those differences, there's one positive and two negatives, making the Xiaomi on paper be more appealing because it is cheaper and basically gives you the same performance. That's why I don't really recommend probably this device if you don't really want to go for OnePlus. If you're just looking for a value for your money, I don't think this is it now, considering at the same value you can get other flagships basically at the same price. This right now is priced right at the effing top. This is apparently the highest price that you can go for in terms of phones before people start questioning what is wrong with you. So $1,100 US. This phone competes right now with the top of all the phones. At this price, you can get the basically like flagship Samsungs, making this questionable again. Because obviously Samsung is Samsung. It's more reliable, I think. Even though I don't like Samsungs, obviously the name does have some meaning, and the devices aren't bad. The S22, what is it, Plus or Ultra, whatever they're calling it, is an outstanding device. It will be a little bit more expensive because I think it comes at around $1,200 instead of the $1,170. So wow, $30 more, and you have a better device with a S Pen and all that stuff, making this again questionable. Why the hell does it exist? So that's basically my overview of this phone. It's honestly overpriced as heck for what it offers, because there are phones at this price range that do everything that this phone does but better. So I cannot recommend this really. It just baffles my mind how OnePlus just decided to like fail as a company, because that's basically what they're doing right now. I used to like OnePlus. For instance, the 7 Pro was an outstanding device. I love that phone, but this and like the previous one is just underwhelming. It's nothing special. It's just an overpriced piece of tech. So yeah, that being said, if you found this very helpful, don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and thanks for watching.